So what if we woke up tomorrow and every billionaire was gone? They weren't unalived or anything. They were just abducted by aliens and they're never coming back. So all of their money is still here. What would happen economically because of all the money that they hold? So I have a ChatGPT agent here. I've asked them basically what I just told you. So my theory is that if all of that money were suddenly available, right, would that do anything to ease the problems of today? I kind of don't think so. Would just their kids or their spouses end up with all of that? And then conversely, would imagine their kids and their spouses would not be as wise or as business savvy or whatever. So then all that money would probably be redistributed, maybe? I don't know. I'm just interested to see what it says. I don't know the answer. I'm not an economist. I'm not a worldly person, really, to be honest. So would money come back down or would it stay where it is? Also, the people have assets there. Like, I don't have $1 billion, but I do have $1 billion yacht. And is it going to say that the Zuck doesn't have any, he's not a billionaire. He actually only has like $1 million and the rest of it's all tied up in stocks or whatever. And I like this little video that it makes. Site unavailable. Why are all the sites unavailable? Is it because they don't want me asking these questions? What is this PDF is DP7733. What is that PDF? What kind of hidden files are we accessing right now? The justifiability of billionaires on socioeconomic grounds. Boy, I'm glad I don't have to read all these boring ass papers. Dude, what are these files it's accessing, dude? Here's a balanced look at what might happen even if every person with greater than $1 billion in assets suddenly vanished while their wealth and businesses remain. Immediate shock. Management void and stock market turbulence. Most billionaires are founders or major shareholders of large firms. They control capital and in many cases hold visionary roles. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. The Michigan Journal of Economics notes that billionaires typically own highly productive companies and provide employment to millions. If all of those individuals disappeared, boards would scramble to fill leadership gaps. The resulting uncertainty could cause short-term volatility in stock prices and credit markets. Over time, boards and institutional investors would appoint successors, but some innovative projects would likely stall because these firms often reflect the founder's personal vision. I think that's basically saying like projects that are in the works would be halted because they all disappeared. And maybe that's saying that it would lose jobs, maybe? I mean, it kind of sounds like they're just going to find other people to take their place and they'll just continue on. Disruption of investment pipeline. Wealth concentration can spur growth because entrepreneurs reinvest profits, expanding businesses and financing other firms. Without billionaires actively allocating capital to risky ventures or venture capital funds, there might be a slowdown in the flow of high risk investment. Angel and venture capital records could dry up, delaying startups and potentially reducing long-term innovation. So you're saying the billionaires, because they have so much money, are just free to make whatever they want or attempt to make whatever they want if they don't care, or if they have so much money that they don't know what to do with it. So they're free to come up with new stuff, I guess is what you're saying. They're inventors in a way. They're so unstressed by money that they're just like, whatever, I can invent whatever I want. I have so much money that whatever I want can be made, or at least tried. I guess because they have so much money that even if it's high risk and it doesn't work out, they're like, we're fine. Whereas most people won't do that. Maybe it's kind of like with Meta and VR, like not a lot of people would be willing to put in as much money as Meta has because I guess Facebook and Instagram is just so profitable or whatever. They could just do it. He has billions of dollars. Redistribution and aggregate demand. Reduced wealth concentration would boost consumption. Extreme wealth concentration limits the purchasing power of the majority. Economic research finds that when wealth is too concentrated, people cannot afford to borrow, consume, or study, and economic growth slows. If billionaire-owned assets were redistributed to the broad base, seized by the state, and sold or gifted to citizens, lower income households' higher propensity to consume could raise aggregate demand. Increased demand would help labor markets, small firms, and tax revenues. However, large-scale redistribution requires competent administration. Otherwise, the assets might be mismanaged, undermining productivity. So I'm pretty sure all that said was just like, yeah, the money would like trickle down and people would get it. But depending on the person who actually does the redistributing would determine how much redistributing actually happened. Let's say Zuck disappears tomorrow. You know the government is going in and being like, let me take a look around before you come in and ransack this place. Tax revenue changes. Billionaires' income and capital gains tax might decline, but these individuals often use loopholes and lobbying to reduce their tax bills. Inheritance constitutes roughly 36% of billionaire wealth, and 2/3 of countries don't tax direct descendants. Seizing their estates, could generate windfalls for governments. How those funds are spent, debt reduction, infrastructure, education would heavily influence long-run outcomes. So the government's just going to seize what they can from them and then just use it to pay off debt and stuff. Philanthropy and social programs. Loss of large-scale philanthropy. New philanthropic institutions created since 1990 contribute about half of foundation giving. And donors like Bill Gates and Melinda Gates have become major actors in global health, rivaling bodies such as the World Health Organization. Global philanthropy has an estimated value of about 2.3 trillion. Good Lord. And in some advanced economies, the multiplier effect of charitable activity can make its impact equivalent to 10% of GDP. What? You're starting to lose me. Much of that giving comes from the ultra rich and supports health, research, education, and social services. Well, of course, I think those are good. If all billionaire donors vanish, charities and research institutions could see major funding gaps. Foundations could continue operating for a while, but strategic giving, targeted disease eradication might suffer. Okay. So basically saying that they all give a lot to these charities that actually do good. And I guess that's something we don't really see a lot of, right? Like you hear about the Bill and Melinda Gates stuff, but without that funding, those can't actually, run those charities, and they have to be very strategic on what exactly they're charitying for. Long-term economic growth, distinguishing productive versus politically connected wealth. The economic impact of billionaires depends on how they acquired their wealth. Research by Bagchi, and I don't want to say that name, finds that wealth inequality overall is negatively correlated with the economic growth. So if an economy is doing better, then wealth inequality will grow also. I think that's what that's saying. When the concentration comes from politically connected or cronyist sources, cronyist, it significantly drags on growth. However, wealth obtained through genuine innovation and marketplace competition has no statistical significant negative effects. So you just said that people in politics taking money from billionaires drags the economy down? Ooh. In other words, inventors and innovators may stimulate growth by creating new industries and jobs, whereas oligarchs who gain wealth through lobbying and monopolies can hinder competition and hamper the economy. Okay. Innovation in R&D. The absence of billionaire-led research efforts, space exploration, vaccine research, could slow technological progress. Many high-risk, long-horizon projects, SpaceX, Blue Origin, philanthropic funding of global health, depending on the willingness of very wealthy individuals to fund years of loss. Without them, such investments might shift to governments or not occur at all. Political influence and policy. Reduction in oligarchic power. Billionaires wield significant political influence through lobbying, campaigning, financing, and media ownership. Their disappearance could reduce rent-seeking and cronyism. I don't know that name. Research suggests that politically connected billionaire wealth suppresses growth. Removing that influence might improve regulatory fairness and democratic accountability, enabling more equitable policies. Risk of other elites filling the gap. If billionaire-controlled assets are simply bought by large institutional investors, wealth concentration could persist, merely changing hands from individuals to corporations or sovereign funds. Political influence might then shift rather than disappear. Wow. The disappearance of all billionaires would create massive short-term economic disruption, leadership vacuums in major corporations, stock market turbulence, and potential investment freezes. In the longer run, the net impact would depend on how their wealth and assets were managed. Redistributing assets broadly could reduce inequality and spur consumption, but it could also deprive the economy of a source of high-risk investment and philanthropic capital. Evidence suggests that billionaire wealth derived from innovation can stimulate growth, while wealth rooted in cronyism drags on growth. Removing the latter but not the former might therefore be desirable. Finally, philanthropic giving linked to the ultra rich currently provide a significant share of funding for health, education, and social services. Society would need to decide whether governments or new donors would fill that gap. Wow. That's crazy. I did not know that. Basically, obtaining your wealth through political means drags down the economy, and doing it through innovation and inventing and stuff raises up. That's crazy. And I know that a bunch of, rich people do give to like philanthropic things, but I guess you just don't see it as much. But still, that's crazy. That's interesting.